Shalom. First and foremost, I want to start off by giving all praises, honor, and glorifications to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakadash. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone, and salutations to the elect. And this video is going to be a response to this incident that happened a few days ago in LA. Grieving parents remember She Rates Dogs podcast co-host killed by hit-and-run driver as amazing young man.
When the ambulance got to the scene, he was already pronounced dead. They couldn't even take him to the hospital to do anything for him. They just left him, then they just hit him and left.
The family of a popular podcaster killed in a hit-and-run accident over the weekend, struggling to deal with their shock and their grief.
Hal Eisner spoke to them about the shocking death of Matt George and the search for the driver who hit him. Hal's there in Santa Monica. Hal?
Yeah. Matt George's mom, dad, and sisters live in Liberty, Missouri. That's a long way from Santa Monica, where they were just over a week ago visiting with Matt in what turned out to be their very last visit.
We are devastated. We are devastated that we have lost our son, who was just an amazing young man.
26-year-old Matt George was killed this past weekend while crossing Beverly Boulevard.
He was crossing the street and somebody hit him in a white BMW and kept going. They didn't even stop. And when the ambulance got to the scene, he was already pronounced dead. They couldn't even take him to the hospital to do anything for him.
His family says Matt was just a few feet in front of a friend on that Beverly Boulevard sidewalk Saturday morning at 2:20 a.m. when he was struck and killed.
Matt's friend had to watch Matthew get killed in front of his eyes. So
in front of his friend.
Painful as it was for his family to sit down just a few days after Matt's death and talk about this, it was also a chance to describe the guy they said came to L.A. to find his place in the entertainment industry. He struck gold with a podcast, and his mom says she would listen every Tuesday morning as a new podcast dropped. He talked to their visit in a recent episode.
And my mother and sister are coming in town this weekend.
Marianne says she was proud of his podcast and him.
This is exactly what he was. This is what Matthew was. He's holding a butterfly. That was Matthew.
It was just days ago, Sunday, July 11th. Marianne, Meredith, and Matthew were at the beach here in Santa Monica. The women came out to celebrate Meredith's 20th birthday with Matt. It would be their last visit. Meredith, is there something you'll take away from that trip that you'll remember forever and always?
Just getting to spend time with him every day.
Every day in L.A., a different restaurant, a different slice of L.A. life. These are some of their last photos. As they sit down, they think of the funny son they knew, the kind brother, and the person who ended his life. What do you want to say to this driver if they're watching right now?
I want to say you took, and I'm sure it was an accident, because no one would do that intentionally, but you took an amazing young man. But I don't think you're going to be able to live with yourself.
We certainly don't think that there was any malicious intent. I think this was negligence. But there is some accountability for negligence as well.
Matt could never live with himself had he done something like this to someone else. I don't think either of us could.
But I'd like you to turn yourself in, though, because there's obviously an issue, and we don't want to see any other family go through this.
Police are still looking for the driver of that vehicle. The vehicle described as a white BMW, 2015 to 2020, a Series 5 or 6. If you have any information at all that can help in the investigation, call the LAPD. Alex, Christine, back to you.
So I'm going to read a little bit. Painful as it was for his family to talk about this, it was also a chance to describe the guy they said came to Los Angeles to find his place in the entertainment industry. He struck gold with a podcast called She Rates Dogs. Matt's mom says she would listen every Tuesday as a new podcast dropped. She says she was always proud of Matt, even as a little boy. She shows us a picture of a young Matt holding a butterfly. That was Matthew, she says. On July 8th, Marianne and Meredith came to Los Angeles to see Matt and celebrate Meredith's 20th birthday. It would be their last visit. Meredith says she'll remember just getting to spend time with him every day. As they sit, they think of the funny son, the kind brother, and the person who ended his life. To that person, Marianne says, I'm sure it was an accident. No one would do that intentionally. You took an amazing young man. I don't think you're going to be able to live with yourself. Santosh adds, we certainly don't think there was any malicious intent, but there is an accountability for negligence as well. To Grace, Matt could never have lived with himself had he done something like this to someone else. I don't think either of us could. The final thought from Mom to the driver of that hit-and-run vehicle, she says, I'd like you to turn yourself in now. I think they made a mistake there. Because there's obviously an issue. We don't want to see another family go through this. One more thought from Marianne. The family is Catholic. She says, I think our goal is to forgive because we all know that it is by forgiving that you're forgiven. And none of us walk on water. None of us do. And while forgiveness won't bring back, Grace says, we are religious. Matthew was not religious, but Matthew would be the first to sit here and say he forgives them. And there's just the number to call. So, that was kind of interesting to me that they mentioned that. Seems like, maybe it could have been a Jake, even though they look kind of like Middle Eastern, like Ishmaelites or Elamites. You never know, because the scripture does say, my people have a zeal, but not according to knowledge, roughly paraphrasing. So now I'm going to go to this. Zephaniah 3 and 5. The just Lord, Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, is in the midst thereof. He will not do iniquity. Every morning doth he bring his judgment to light. He faileth not, but the unjust knoweth no shame. So every day there's judgment going out. Right now we're in a heavy time of judgment. And the Lord saw fit to bring judgment on that dude. Even though he may have been a nice guy or whatever. Also, the scripture does say there's no respect of persons. The Lord is no respecter of persons, roughly paraphrasing. So it doesn't matter who you are. Anybody can get it. And I also want to get this. 1 Peter 4 and 17. For the time is come that judgment must begin at the house of Yahweh. And if it first begin at us, what shall the end be of them that obey not the gospel of Yahweh? Verse 18. And if the righteous scarcely be saved, where shall the ungodly and the sinner appear? So if those that are following the commandments to the best of their ability, the righteous, Israel, the elect, and the 1/3, if they're going to be barely saved, just imagine what's going to happen to the 2/3 and to these heathens out here. They're going to be utterly destroyed. So I also want to end off with this. Hebrews 10 and 31. It is a fearful thing to fall into the hands of the living power. So the Lord is terrible. This is just more evidence of why the Lord is to be feared. This judgment that this dude got, that was just on a low level if you consider the ways that other people are going out, like those floods in Germany, to die drowning. Like, it's probably way worse than getting hit by a car, or in the famine. All these types of horrible judgments that are coming out, and eventually the nuclear missiles that are going to be before Yahweh Shai returns with the angels to deliver the elect. There's nothing but judgment coming in the days to come. So yeah, that's pretty much it on that. Lord willing, it was edifying. Once again, I'm going to give all praises, honor, and glorifications to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakadash. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone, and salutations to the elect. Shalom.